It is astonishing how you're born into this system, which is well underway, and every generation takes the system in which they're born for granted. They think it could only be this way. How else could it be? That's all they know. And if their parents don't know themselves that the whole system is rigged, and you live in a more sophisticated form of slavery, as Charles Galton Darwin said, then, of course, they can't pass it on to the child. And then you go into education, and their first job is to make you uniform, standardize you, make you into linear thinkers until you can't see any particular objective means to get to a problem. You're not taught to look at things from many angles and be very critical in your logic and how to arrive at various conclusions until you get the proper conclusion on any topic. I've suggested different books over the years that people should read to get an idea of what's happening today, because a lot of the big boys themselves who helped plan this particular era, who worked with think tanks and implementation groups as well. They didn't just sit and dream things up in the tanks. They have to go out and bring it into reality, make it be or make it so, as they love to say. And that becomes your reality, whatever it happens to be, on a grand scale. But it's not difficult to do when the guys at the top are the guys who lend, supposedly, money to other nations and own so much of the world's resources, pretty well all of it, in fact, in reality. And there's nothing for them to have cash printed up or just move blips off a computer, add a few to it, and give it to this bunch of think tank to deal with one aspect of controlling and manipulating and upgrading you. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And what you'll find too with the big boys who all work together and go to global think tanks and work out and hammer out all the problems of how to implement their schemes and their agendas into the phases, you'll find out that they all come out with the same views on things and the same necessities on things, especially depopulation and a controlled, scientifically run society. That's what you're going into now. Authoritarianism. The Club of Rome, as I say, talked about this too many, many years ago. It's a top think tank for the United Nations. And I've given out the membership list before and various other things about them. If you want to find out stuff, go into my archives and do a lot of digging. And even if you get the wrong one at first and you listen to the audio, believe you me, you still learn something from it before you hit the right one. So what I'm truly saying is that we're living through an agenda. The world is simply an agenda. And it's so interesting, too, to read the big boys like Brzezinski and his book, Between Two Ages, where he puts out the format to the public, the reader, in the way that I call the accidental view of history. Trends just appear, the way the Rand Corporation tends to do its announcements in magazines. Trends appear, and according to the trends, they predict that we will be down the road and we'll be doing this by the year so-and-so and so-and-so. That's the way that Brzezinski presented his information. And yet, Brzezinski and the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission had been working their whole lives, and people before they were born too were at it, directing the course of the world and the course of the cultures and the course of technology. So it's so interesting to see him give you the accidental view, but never mention the fact that there are big players and powerful organizations shaping the direction in which we were to go. Quite fascinating, really. Because we're supposed to believe that in the accidental view. Things just happen by accident. Governments get up and try and fix things on the spur of the moment. And that's why it's so chaotic, and that's why they make mistakes, we're told. And again, there's nothing further from the truth. The further back you go, reading the books written by the big players, the more evident it becomes that everything you've lived through was predicted by them, because they were making it all happen throughout your whole life and where it's supposed to go up to the year 2050 and beyond. Sometimes they'll call them futurists as well, the futurists who predict trends. Now, like any world where they've trained, or any reality where they've trained the public to follow experts, as Bertrand Russell said they would, and they have.
they pick the supposed top futurists, the ones who will predict the winning trends. They're the winners. They're always right, you see. Well, it's not because they've got good crystal balls or because they've got more of like an acute mental range or something. It's because they're in on the big plan, the big agenda.